Do negative reviews kill companies? I'm going to go out on a limb and say no, they do not. I will expand on this quite a bit, but first up, I want to address why I'm talking about this. Over the last week, MKBHD or Marques Brownlee, who is a very famous YouTube tech reviewer, put out a negative review of an AI pen, and after that review went live, apparently his negative coverage tanked the company. He put the company out of business with his negative review. Instead of linking all of the threads on X, I'm just going to link MKBHD's response to this in the episode notes and description. I highly recommend watching it for context and seeing what he has to say about this. What he has to say about this. But first up, we should address what is the purpose or what is the job of a tech reviewer or of a reviewer in general. The job of a reviewer is to help consumers make more informed purchasing decisions so they can hopefully waste less of their hard-earned money. That means that us as reviewers are going to share the positive as well as the negative, and the negative is likely going to be a bit more important because that is going to inform a purchaser's decision quite a bit more. What is going to go wrong if I buy this? And when a consumer is researching a product to buy, they certainly are not just going to consume one review. They are going to read multiple reviews, watch multiple reviews, and listen to multiple reviews. And because reviewers do inform consumers on what to buy and what not to buy, the obligation of a reviewer, or should I say, the party that a reviewer ought to be advocating for, is the end consumer as opposed to the company. Reviewers do not have an obligation to the company, to that company's sale. The obligation and the responsibility of a reviewer is to serve the end consumer. Another obligation or responsibility that reviewers have is towards accuracy, and I suppose you could argue this is a responsibility towards the company that is being reviewed, but it's also a responsibility to the end consumer because the information that you're presenting to that end consumer ought to be accurate. So you need to make sure that if you have an issue with the product you're reviewing, that you verify that is not a faulty unit, that is not something that is wrong with your specific unit. You also need to verify that you're using it correctly. You need to understand the product. I don't know why I pronounced that weird. You need to understand the product prior to reviewing it. You need to have a very firm understanding of what you are covering, and then you need to share that information accurately and honestly. So then we get to the next question. Why do negative reviews exist? And this is very important. Do negative reviews exist solely because reviewers love putting out negative coverage because it gets more clicks? I would argue no. This is anecdotal, but from personal experience, my least favorite type of review to make is negative. I feel terrible when I make a negative review because there are people behind those products who put their heart and soul into it in most cases. So I hate making negative reviews. So I would argue that is not why negative reviews exist. I believe that negative reviews exist not because people want clicks, but because there are flawed products out there. Every product has a flaw, and those who are looking to buy product X, Y, or Z should be aware of the flaws of that product prior to buying it. So then we get back to the original question. Do negative reviews kill companies? The reason I say no is assuming there is no conspiratorial, coordinated smear campaign going on, and how I wish there was because you know I love a conspiracy. But assuming that is not the case, negative reviews of products do not exist without subpar products being out there and these items that have deal-breaking flaws being available for sale to the end consumer. So if a company does go out of business following a bunch of negative reviews, I don't think it's the reviews that put the company out of business. First, I think it's the fact that that company released a flawed and subpar product, but ultimately, It's because the end consumer had the information to make a more informed purchasing decision to not waste their money on a disappointing product. And ultimately, I think that is a good thing because reviewers are advocates, or they ought to be advocates for that end consumer. Now, I also want to point something out. Reviewers will inevitably make mistakes, and we as reviewers have an obligation to ensure that we avoid those mistakes as much as possible. I am embarrassed to admit that I have made tons of mistakes over 9 years of reviewing audio gear, and there is a ton of guilt, at least in my case, a ton of guilt that goes along with making mistakes. Maybe I just take things a bit too hard. Maybe I take things a bit too seriously, but I feel terrible whenever I make a mistake in a review. But that is why I advocate people get multiple opinions before they buy something. Don't just take my opinion on a microphone because I do make mistakes. I also have only my own set of experiences, so you should be getting multiple people's opinions. You should be listening to multiple audio samples to make the most informed decision, because as much as I would love to say you should watch me, only recommend me, only use my affiliate links, and make me super duper rich, which I would love, that would be counter to my entire job. My job is to help you make informed decisions. The job of reviewers is to help the end consumer make more informed decisions. So you should not be taking a single review as the gospel. You should be getting multiple. Why am I over enunciating everything? This is insane. You should be getting multiple opinions on a product prior to reviewing it, because people do make mistakes. People have differing opinions. They have differing experiences, and they record in different environments if we're talking about audio gear. So that is my take on the entire situation. No, negative reviews do not kill companies. Bad products kill companies. And when consumers have the ability to make informed decisions to not buy disappointing products, that is what may kill a company. But I don't think that most companies rely on a single product. They typically have dozens of products. So if one product fails, hopefully, if the company is managed well, they won't go out of business, and they can iterate and learn and improve. And then the next product will be better for the end consumer. And when the end consumer learns that the follow-up product is better and serves a need, then the company who has improved benefits. It is a win-win. It just takes a bit of work and ensuring you are offering value to the end consumer. Okay, I am done rambling. Check MKBHD's video in the description and show notes.